Hi, this is Sandy with day 4 of the Happy Holiday Winterborn project for Country Craft Creations. I'm sorry I'm a bit late today. This is Saturday. I slept late and then my computer decided to do an update. So I'm running late with this, but we're going to have plenty of time to work on it over the weekend, and we're going to finish it in the next segment, which will air either Monday or Tuesday. I haven't decided yet, so that's going to be announced later. So let's get started. Okay, I've got the barn painted red and everything has dried. And you'll notice that when you um, kind of move it, it kind of shifts side to side. So I have decided to add some strips, some structure strips, or what you might call hinges. These are made out of cardstock. I cut craft ones. They're 1 inches wide by 12 inches long. Now you don't need them 12 inches long. You're going to cut them to fit. So I'm just placing one inside, and we're going to put 4, one in each corner. It doesn't completely hold it, but it does help a little bit so that it'll be a little easier to get that roof on and to attach this to the the base, the snow base that we're going to add it to. So I'm cutting these down, and I'm going to use score tape on these to attach these into the corners. So you put these are folded in half. They're scored in half. They're 1-inch pieces scored in half, so you have a 1/2 inch piece on each side of the fold line. And now I'm going to add score tape to the front and the back of each hinge. So you'll see me do that in just a second here. I'm trimming these down, getting them ready to put on. So I'm just double checking my height right now to make sure that they're going to fit, and I'm going to quickly put down the score tape. So once you have the score tape down, go ahead and peel the backing off. And you're not going to be able to really see this well on the camera because you have the outer part of the barn in there, but I am just putting the fold line right into the corner of the barn and then burnishing it down on each side. So I'm going to see if I can put this one in so that you can kind of see from the top. So I'm peeling the backing off. So you have the sticky on the outside. You put the fold into the corner. Get it in there as close tight as you can, and then open it up and press down on the score tapes. So this just gives a little stability, I guess you would say, right there in the corners to keep it from moving and shifting. So I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. I decided, since I already had the structure hinges made, that I would also measure and put 2 on the bottom edge of the barn. This is on the 2 sides. I did not put any where the door and the back opening is, but I'm putting these on so that I have a little hinge flap to help me in positioning the barn down onto that snow base once we get to that point. So I am adding the score tape to these hinges, and you're going to see me actually put these onto the inside of the barn and leave the one flap hanging with the tape still on it and waiting until I'm ready to put that on the base. So I'm just prepping this at this time since I have the hinges out. This is optional. You don't have to do this. I just decided it might make it a little easier to position that barn down on that base, and the glue will hold it. I'm still going to be using the art glitter glue to attach this barn onto the base when we get to that step. if you look real quick, when I stand the barn up, you can see those hinges down there on the bottom, just on both sides. And I left the tape on them on the side that's not stuck to anything, so it'll be ready for when I put it onto the base. And I'm just burnishing with my bone folder all the hinges to make sure they stick down. So you see the hinge there sticking out on the side. Okay, so we're ready to work on the roof. It's all dry, and I'm just going to spritz it a little bit in the center for this where it needs to curve. It's going to curve around over that. I got a little bit too much on there, so I'm going to wipe that off. Rub it out in the area and getting some of it out. So with the paint, it makes it a little stiffer. You are going to have some cracking there in the center. You would anyway, probably, whether you had paint on there or not, and then I will touch that up. So I'm just kind of softening it up so that it gives me more curve. And I see that there's too much water there, so I am just going to blot that up right quick, because you don't want it to oversaturate and actually fall apart. So you're just going to gently curve this so that it goes over the top of the curve of the barn. And I'm just checking to see that it does. And I think I ended up with more of a curve in mine, but that's okay. I'll show you how I fix that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and kind of get this folded in the middle exactly where I want it, and then I'll set it aside and get ready to put glue on the top edges of the barn. Take your art glitter glue and put it on all the tabs of the barn and then along the edges. And then I'm just going to fit this on here. Now this is a little tricky. You're going to have to hold it and let it set, and then you may have to lift up the barn and reach underneath and press those little tabs with the glue. I ended up having to put glue on a couple of times to get this to stick down, so I'm just holding it and letting it dry. You see here how much my roof line cracked, and that's okay because I will fill that in with white paint, and then I will also add snow. So I'm still trying to hold it and get it to dry. Next, you apply glue to the tabs on the bottom of your little dormer and attach that to the roof. I've already done that here, and I'm adding glue to the tabs for the roof of the dormer that goes on top of the barn. So I did put mine towards the front of the barn, closer to the front. You can put yours where you think it looks right for your barn. And mine didn't quite fit down because I had the curve of my roof was a little different. It had some gaps, but that's okay. I fill that in with some art glitter glue that dries white. There is another type. There's the one that dries clear that I use most of all, but there is one that dries white, and I'm filling it in because I'm going to fill that in with snow. So I just want to make sure that it's secure, so I'm using the white glue on that. So I've done that, and I am attaching the roof, and we're going to let that dry. Now that the roof is dry and the dormer is securely on the top of the roof, I turn the barn on its side, and I am adding the white window frames. Now, you only need to put glue around the outer frames. The insides don't attach anything. Also, if you were going to add acrylic for glass windows, panes in your windows, you would do that from the inside. I decided not to because the barns that my dad had, we didn't have glass in the windows. We just had these like shutter boards either on the outside or the inside. So in my mind, this barn has them on the inside that you close in the winter and you want air blowing through in the summer. So there's no glass in my windows of my barn. So I'm adding these all on the front, and then we'll do the ones on the sides and the one on the little dormer. And then I'm going to show you something different that I did for the barn door. Okay, so for my barn door, I took a scrap of the extra chipboard that I had from making the planks, and I measured the back of the door frame, and I've cut this down. I think it was 2.5 by 3.5, but use your ruler and measure and make sure. I'm going to paint one side only red and then let it dry. And after I do that, I'm going to glue it to the back of the barn door frame before gluing the door frame down onto the barn. I decided I wanted the door to be solid because I think that the doors would be solid on your barn rather than having it see-through like a window. The red chipboard piece is dry for the door, and I'm going to glue. Just add glue. You really only need uh, around the edges of the frame, and I'm deciding here that I think maybe I'm going to glue the red piece to the back side of the opening. I think maybe that would work better. That way the door frame will be flat, flushed onto the front of the card. I can't talk this morning. So anyway, I'm adding glue just around the perimeter of the red chipboard piece that I painted red, and I'm going to insert it into the bottom of the barn and then glue it to the back of that opening, just like that. And I do have some excess glue that I'm going to have to wipe off. But I want to hold it and let it dry just a little bit. And I'm going to use either my baby wipe, see what I can get. And if it's down in the groove and you don't like it down there, of course there's probably going to be snow covering this, so it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to get as much of the clumpy glue parts off that I can. Especially where it shows like at the top of the corner. And I'm not marking that with a pencil. I'm just very lightly just pulling the glue off of that little corner there. Okay, so now I'm ready to glue the frame down. And again, I'm just going to put glue on the perimeter on the back side of this. Once the windows and the door frame are dry, I did take my Prima sander and just went along in different little spots. I could have done this before I put the windows on, but this way I'm not over sanding it. I just want a few little worn spots on the red wood, so I'm just sanding that, and then I also end up using my foam sanding block. So you just gently rub it. It looks like I'm rubbing really hard, but I'm not, just because I don't want anything to tear off. But I'm just sanding in different places, especially on the corners of the barn, to give it that little worn look, so a little bit of the craft wood part shows through. Now I'm ready to attach the barn to the white snow base. So I'm peeling the tape backing off of these two hinge flaps. And then I will add glue along all the other edges and along the edges of the hinge piece there to help. This hinges with the score tape helps hold it in place. It helps me to hold it down while the glue dries. So just put down glue, this art glitter glue that dries clear. It really holds well, so you don't have to worry about that, and it dries pretty fast, but sometimes you do need a little help, like with the score tape on the hinges to kind of hold it down. So I'm adding the glue, and then I will position it onto the base. Now I'm going to put mine more to the back. I want more of the front having snow. It's a little tricky to center it. Mine's not perfect once I get it on there, and I'm okay with that because, you know, with all the snow added and other things sitting around it, it's going to look just fine. Now that the barn is attached down, I am just sticking my hand inside the barn with the glue bottle and adding a line of glue on the inside, on the front and the back, where I can reach it to glue it in there. So you really can't see me doing that, but that's what I'm doing in this part of the video. So now we're going to turn it around. It's glued on pretty good. You see the back, the side. See how I have more towards the front? And I'm going to go ahead and glue some of my trees and other elements to where I want them on to the base. I will move them around probably and play with them and glue with them. I'm going to speed all this up, and that will conclude the process today because these items do need to dry once they're attached. I'm going to put some of them down before I add the snow. Some I will do later. So I think I'm going to put down all the trees and maybe the horses and a Santa or something. Some of them are not to scale, so it's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to decide whether I want them or not. I may take them off, but before I decide, if I decide I want them, I'm going to be gluing them down. And then the next segment that will air either Monday or Tuesday, which is the 11th and 12th, that will be the last video. We'll be finished and ready to put it out for part of our Christmas decoration. So thank you so much for following along. And we're down to where we just need to add our snow and finish everything up. I do know that I will probably take the bow off the little wreath, and I think I'm going to add a twine bow to give it more of a country look instead of the little satin. There's nothing wrong with the bow that's on it. I'm just going to change it up a little bit, and you'll probably see all that in the speeded up version because this video is getting kind of long and it's Saturday and I want to get it up. And I will see you Monday or Tuesday. I'll announce it on Facebook. And thank you so much for watching and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.